So I got COVID. Um, so I got COVID, um, which is great. You know, what else are you gonna do but make a video about game pigeon games? Because it's all I've been doing, playing game pigeon games with my friend, which is kind of fun. It's a new thing. Well, it's not a new thing, of course, but like I'm coming back to it after years and years. I remember in like sophomore year of high school, maybe 2017, 2018, Game Pigeon got really popular, but for some reason the only game that was popular at the time was 8 Ball, and you can tell from the Game Pigeon thing they're trying to like capitalize on that, because they've got 8 Ball, they've got 8 Ball Plus, and they've got 9 Ball, and so it's like, besides like the word games, it's like the most amount of customization for any of the different games. But I think that it's not the best game on the thing. I think there's on the platform. I think there's better games, and I think 8 Ball's kind of boring. Honestly, there's much more fun games that you might be able to experience. What we're gonna do today is we're gonna rank them because me and Lucia have gone through almost all of them and played them all, and we all have very strong. We both have, or at least I have very strong opinions about. I have very strong opinions about which games are better or worse than others, and so let's get back into it. I've got a tier list. Just ignore that. What we're gonna do is we're gonna talk about the games. We're gonna rank them, as you can see in my little list. We're gonna talk about the games. We're gonna rank them, and I'm gonna try to discuss some strategy that you might use in order to beat your friends better. I think this is a lost cause at this point. The mini golf game. I like this game. I'm gonna put this in A tier. I think it's slow, and that's good. What I think makes a good elements of it. I think part of the thing that makes a good game, is that it lasts a long time. And my evidence for this is that when you're playing with your friends, you don't want it to be over in one round. You don't want to send a little thing and then suddenly you're done. Right? I want to be able to, like, every time I pick up my phone to check it, I look at Instagram, I look at Twitter, I look at, all of my little accounts. And then I respond to my texts, and part of responding to my texts is playing my little Game Pigeon games. And so I just do my next move, and then I continue on with my day. I think that's fun. And I think that's what makes, and golf falls into this category if it lasts a long time. There's 3 rounds. When you play the golf game, you get a lot of moments of hyper concentration that you can use a lot of skill for, but there's also an element of luck. And so you get to sit and think about your moves, and the moves matter. You want to get to the hole in as little strokes as possible. My strategy for this game is to just take it really slow and line up your shots as well as possible, and don't always, bust on the first fucking go. You want to make clean shots, and that's not necessarily super strong pulls every single time. Don't get old. Next up on this list is basketball. I think basketball is okay. It's sort of fun. It's very quick. You're done in 2 rounds. I think what basketball is one of these, there's 2 types of games, 2 types, and slow. I think slow games are the best. But I think there's an element of fast games, such as basketball and darts, and archery, and I'm looking at some other things where you just like cup pong. You just make a lot of actions repeatedly within a certain time, and there's not a lot of thought that goes into it, and there's a lot of variance, and so I think that it's fun for a certain type of person, but there's not a lot of repeatability for the game, and so I think that's an issue. And I think basketball is the perfect example of this. The strategy, here's my basketball strategy, is to just get as many balls into the air as possible. You know, they're going to give you unlimited balls, but your time limit is is counting down, and so as long as you get as many balls into the air as possible within the time limit, the more balls in the air, the better your chances are of making points and getting wins, right? We're in this for the dubs. Next up is mancala. I'm gonna put mancala in B. I'm gonna put it in C tier, actually. There's two types of games. Let me explain. There's games that are the same as they are in real life, and games that are different. Mancala falls into the second category. You'd expect mancala to be the same, but the thing about mancala is the way you play. The way that you play are street rules. You've never played the correct way, apparently. And that's sort of the beauty of mancala. It's sort of like, I don't know, Calvin Ball or Foursquare or something, where the rules change based off what elementary school you went to. But I was always under the impression that if you land someone else's spot, you get to pick up their stones and you keep going. And it's a very sort of like, they've taken a game that doesn't have a lot of strategy and given it strategy with one simple thing. And this is what's saving it. Otherwise, I'd put this in D tier. It's just not a very good game. Just because it bastardizes the beauty of mancala, which is to say that it's different every time, depending on who you play with. But the rule that they added, which I think is really clever and actually gives you strategy, is that if you, let's pull up a mancala board. If you have your stones, say this is your side, right? The back side. And you end in one of your own pockets, then you get all the stones in the other person's pocket into your tray, right? The goal of the game is to get as many stones into your tray as possible. Element of the game that creates more strategy that in a game that otherwise doesn't have so much strategy, because that allows you to think about your own moves, and if you want to clear out some spaces in order to try and take other people's stuff, there's a certain level of mind games that you can play in order to try and get your opponent to stack up on their side, and then you get to swoop in 1 or 2 turns and take their big little 6 or 7 pile. So I think that raises it up from D tier. I do think there's a lot holding it back, though. I think there's a beauty in mancala that you just sort of, you and your little squabbly little boys and girls running around the fucking formula smelling shit room just making mancala work. That's the beauty of mancala. That's what you really want to be remembering, you know. Chess, I'm not going to talk about. It's too political. There's nothing I have to say.
Ένα πρωί στην κουβέντα μας απάνω τι είναι άραγε η ζωή.
Reversey. Reversey was fun. It falls into the category as the same as it is in real life, and it's sort of chess-like in its in nature, and so therefore I think it's fun. I think it is a C tier. There's not a ton of interesting stuff you can do with it. Yeah, I don't know. It's just reversey, sort of uninteresting. The strategy is to get to the edge and put your stuff on the edge. The corners are the best. As soon as you get a corner, no one else can take that from you, and so sort of just build up from the edge. And so the beginning game doesn't matter at all, which is sort of not great when it comes to games, but, you know, the opening game doesn't really matter very much. As long as you get to the edge, you can sort of reclaim the pieces that you've lost in the beginning. I haven't played this yet. I don't know what these are. They don't look that fun. I guess we'll see. So I guess we'll make a second video after this one, after we play them. But I'm so incredibly bored that I need something to do right now, even though I haven't played all of these things. You want to know why? Because we made it to 20 questions. We're going to jump the gun a little bit.
Τότε γύρισα και σου είπα για άλλους είναι το κρασί.
Lucia and I are playing 20 questions, and I'm just waiting for them to get back to me. Look at this. Oh, this is embarrassing. It's actually my turn, and I don't think they're ever going to get my word. Is it a belt? No, it's not a belt. I'm so sorry. So far, I mean, this is literally the same as 20 questions. The verbal game, we could have just done this through text. But I guess it saves you. I don't know. I don't know why it's frustrating me so much, actually, now that I think about it. Actually, I'm going to save this one for next time. I want to see what it's like to play on the other end, because I don't know if they're getting prompted into various things or they're asking questions themselves, because that sort of changes everything. So I'm going to hold off on that one. We'll see. Cup Pong. I really like Cup Pong. It's the opposite of it lasts a long time. But the other element of what makes a good game is competition. And I think Cup Pong really just has a lot of good competition that can be had. There's, just with Cup Pong, I guess, in an actual game. But there's like redemption. I think the swiping for Cup Pong is the one that's the most intuitive for all the various swiping games. I think between the two of those, it actually feels like if you're down by a lot, you can sort of come back. And also you can sweep really well. If you're just good at it, there's an element of skill. Another element of a good game. Because as much as you love a game that starts that everyone can enter, I do also really think a game that has upward momentum. Not upward momentum. I do think a game that has a very high ceiling is a good game as well, because it encourages you to continue learning. I don't think, besides chess, perhaps, there's not really a ton of games like that that have particularly stark learning curves. But, that's just me. Maybe I'll redact that. Next game. I don't know what this is. I'll have to come back to that. We have a lot of games to do, actually, I guess. Connect 4. 4 in a row, sorry. 4 in a row is just Connect 4. It is the same as it is in real life. It is slow. And I think it's a good game. I think it's a good game because Connect 4 is a fun game. I don't think this is doing much of anything. Game Pigeon doesn't do anything, but also that's not really the goal of Game Pigeon, right? The goal of Game Pigeon is like the convenience of it, and so I think it is convenient. And Connect 4 is a good game, and it was a good game to put onto Game Pigeon, and so it's fun. It's an entry-level game. Anyone can enter it, and there's also, like I was saying before, there's an element of skill that distinguishes people. There's not a huge learning curve. Once you know, there's not even anything to know. It's just sort of mostly just be observant, just think of all your options, and don't be pressured into people to playing quickly, because that'll make you lose. It's just, all this stuff is like mostly thinking. Alright, next game. Komoku. This was my favorite game we've played so far. Komoku it's like Connect 4. The funny thing about this game is we decided to play it, me and Lucia, and then there wasn't any instruction manual. a big issue with a lot of these games is there's not any instruction manual, but when like basketball and like four in a row don't really need instruction manuals and stuff like that. But komoku, we had no idea what it was. We'd never seen it before, and so we just sort of started making, just sort of placed pieces for a while. We had no idea what we were doing. I decided I wanted to try and make some pixel art or something with the different colored stones, and then it turns out it's just five in a row. So I just made a line, and then I won that round. And then the game became infinitely more fun, because it took us 3 or 4 games for me to actually develop some sort of strategy that I thought was relevant. And here's the strategy. The goal of the game is to get five in a row, but the alternate goal of the game is to get 3 in a row with no restricted, with nothing on either end of the 3 in a row, and then essentially you've got 5 in a row because they have no time to block you. Here we have a setup for komoku, right? If it's black's turn, black wins in this setup, right? Because they have this 3 in a row up top right here going like this, right? And essentially the idea is that if it's black's turn, they put one right here or right here on either end, and then white can only put one on one end, and then they get 5 in a row, right? And so 3 in a row essentially wins if it's your turn. If it's white's turn right now, they have to put one on to block them in, or wall them in. I think that's a better adjective. To wall them in, or else black is going to win. And so it's essentially this game creating grids in order to try and stop these 3 in a rows from happening, or, you know, enable them. One of the big issues I have with komoku is it's sort of like an unbalanced game for the two players, because player one will always have the advantage, and essentially player two is just blocking until player one fucks up, and then they start, you know, are on the offensive. And so it's really just a balance of that. But it's really fun. I think there's a lot of strategy to be had. I think there's still more strategy that we haven't figured out yet. I highly recommend this one for anyone, especially if you're a chess lover. I don't love chess that much. I'm not talking about it. It's too political, clearly. In this environment, dots and boxes is fine. It's the same. This is interesting. No, here's what I'll say, actually. I'm going to put dots and boxes in B tier, but that's only because the actual game itself is really fun. It's literally the same exact situation as four in a row, except it's worse just because the board is so small. There might be a way to increase the board size, but as long as the board is as small as it is, it's like a 4x4 grid, it's not going to be entertaining. You know, the game's over really quickly, and so one person wins and one person doesn't. I mean, that's every game ever, but it's sort of like a cash in, you know. There's not really any recovery moments in dots and boxes. You're either lost or you haven't. There's no comeback, and so I think that's the competition. I guess that's another element. That's just me. I think there's potential. It definitely has more strategy than four in a row, but just bad vibes, I guess.
Τώρα που άλλαξε η καρδιά σου και έναν άλλον αγαπά.
Checkers is the worst game on Cube Pigeon. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. It is so bad. It has the same issue with Mancala, where it has all the original rules, presumably, but then they add just one more rule. Except the rule that they add, unlike Mancala, which brought it from a D to a C tier, this takes checkers from wherever it was before. I've never played a good game of checkers down to an F tier. And that rule is this. If you have the capability to take someone else's piece, you have to take it. And there's strategy to be had, but I just think there's also strategy to be had by strategically not taking someone else's piece when you have the opportunity to. I don't know if this is the official rules of checker. I don't know if there are official rules of checkers. If there are official rules of checkers, I don't want to know them. You know, this is another one where you just sort of figure it out on your own. And if I was playing with another person, I would never let this happen. I would never force someone to take when there was an opportunity to take. It's just it's a bad rule that ruins the entire game. And besides, I just don't like checkers very much. I don't think it is good. It's too similar to chess, my one arch enemy.
Απορρίσεις μου λένε ακόμη η δική μου πως χτυπά.
Sea Battle, otherwise known as Battleship, is fun. Yeah, this feels about right. The issue I have with Sea Battle, there's two types of games, right? There's games that are the same or they're different. And Sea Battle is almost the same, except for the fact that you can't put your ships next to each other when you're in setup mode. And they do this because of this new rule that they implemented, in that once you take out a ship, the surrounding boxes, all the boxes that ship was touching, also get exposed, or I guess they get revealed. And so they implemented this rule that you can't put ships next to each other in order to enable this alternate rule that they added, which is to expose to reveal the ships around them. I don't think this is necessary. I'd rather be able to put ships next to each other, because I think it is funny when you hit two ships next to each other and it doesn't reveal anything. I just think it's entertaining. I think it allows for a lot more intricate strategies. The rule of thumb for games like this, and the rule of thumb for all games, is to give your players as much freedom as possible within the system that you created. And Sea Battle just doesn't do that. They're limiting you for no good reason, and so I think they could be better. I think they could be an A-tier game. I don't know. Also, the game we played one round of Sea Battle, because it does last a long time, but which is not bad. I like games that last a long time. But we only played one round of Sea Battle, and with the one round of Sea Battle, we had 4 1-by-1 ships that were available to us. I'm not sure how to change the size of the ships. You might have to pay Game Pigeon, which I don't think it is worth like $4 to change the size of the ships. But it's also really annoying to try and hunt down the little 1-by-1s. And so by the end of the match we were playing, Lucia and I had revealed almost every single one of the tiles, each other's tiles, until there was like 2 or 3 spaces left to compete, and it was just chance. And so any element in order to eliminate that sort of chance element is a good way to do it. The strategy for Sea Battle is this is like a beginner strategy, but don't put anything on the outside grid, because that, I feel like it's easy psychologically to think that's a good position because it's not in the middle, and you expect people to go to the middle. But also, when your opponent is choosing spaces to play, they're going to choose the outside, right? My first 4 moves were the 4 corners when we played, and I got 2 of Lucia's chips, and so it's just sort of an obvious place to put it. It's like a rookie move. That's how I describe it.
Μήπως τα σαν και εμένα δεν είναι άνθρωποι πολλοί.
This next game is the first of the word games. Let me see which one it is, because I don't recognize it by it. It doesn't make a noise. Sometimes they're gonna fucking kill me. This is so annoying. I just think they're on the wrong path. Let's see. This one is anagrams. Oh, I like anagrams. I like word games to begin with. I think they're entertaining. We're gonna put anagrams up here in A tier, actually. I think it's a really intuitive word game. An issue I have with word hunt that we'll talk about later. I guess we'll talk about it. I guess we'll do them both at the same time. I'll put word hunt down here in C tier. The difference between these two and why they're so drastically different is that anagrams is really intuitive. Anagrams is really intuitive to play. It makes sense. You look at it, you select words out of the letters you have. They go in, they pop back, and you just do it again. And there's top end, you can try and do that really quickly. Word hunt just doesn't have that. Word hunt is sort of non-intuitive to use and doesn't use the type of parts of your brain that are particularly useful for anything else. To look in something and see a different perspective is sort of useful, but it's also at the same time obnoxious to deal with in your head, to rationalize. I'm going to look at something diagonally and reversed, and that's going to be important later on. It's fine. Word hunt is fine. Anagrams is fun. Anagrams is quick. I don't mind the quickness, just because I think you get that satisfying amount of thought put into the game while you play it, and so it really scratches that game itch really well while still being quick.
Πεθαμένη κι απόξω ζωντανή.
Archery's actually, I do really enjoy archery. I'd say it's in the same like era as these quick shooters where you just pull back and you shoot something. But yeah, I mean, the interesting elements of archery is there's sort of wind, and the way you pull back is it allows for thought to happen when you're with your actions. I think actions that you get to think through and then perform are actions that are better than actions you don't get to think through. It forces you into it. There's a time limit after you draw your bow, but I don't mind that because the time limit's not horrible, and you can aim in such a way that feels like you're making a difference against the wind, and it feels like you're making a difference against the weird interactive interface. I think archery is a good game. There's not really any strategy. I haven't really been thinking of strategy. And anagrams, you just have to know words. Word hunt, no strategy. Actually, I'm not even going to talk about strategy. There's not really anything to be had. Shuffleboard, haven't played that. Paintball, haven't played that. That does not look entertaining, but I guess we'll see. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. We'll do 8-ball next. 8-ball.
Από μέσα πεθαμένη και απόξω ζωντανή.
Ball is B tier only because of nostalgia, I guess. I mean, it's 8-ball, right? It's pool. It's not the same as in real life because you don't get, pool is a particularly tactile game that you need actual physical feeling to actually succeed at, and this is more of like drawing back. It's similar to archery, I guess, but better actually. Actually, I'll argue that it's a better archery because there's more going on, there's more thought to be had, there's competition to be had, there's an element of skill relatively, there's capability for a comeback. It's not particular. It's intuitive. No, never mind. It's actually very intuitive. And it lasts a relatively long time. Depends on how good the person you're playing is against. But also, like, there is a capability of starting an 8-ball game, the person wins in one go. That's not fun. There's no competition there, I guess. So there's a capability of no competition, but I guess that's sort of like the luck of the draw. 9-ball, I talked about this at the top a little bit. I have not played 9-ball yet. I assume it's the same as 8-ball, but at the risk of being wrong, I'm going to save it for next video, because I think we actually have a number of things to talk about next video. What the fuck is that? I mean, I know what it is, but I don't remember what the name of it is. Let's look. What is it called? Knockout. Okay, Knockout. I have to play Knockout some more, I think. I'm going to put Knockout in D tier. No, I think actually I'm going to put it in C tier. No, I think it's going to be in B tier, actually. Okay, Knockout's in B tier because I played it one time. I think I won. I can't remember. But there is a lot of strategy to be had. Like, as soon as we finished that match, Lucia immediately came up with a strategy that they could have used in order to beat me in that last scenario. And so there's thought to be had. There's not any time limit, and so it is actually time invested equals a better chance of winning, which I think is a good element of a game, clearly. There's not really a capability for a comeback because there's only really 4 things on there. There is an element of skill. I think the ceiling for that skill is not super high, but I think it's high enough that it is interesting. It's not super. No, it is intuitive to play. I guess intuitive I'm defining as user interaction. Something like komoku is not intuitive because there's no rule book. I don't think that's actually what that means. No, word hunt is not intuitive because it's sort of like using elements that are sort of lame. It's a slow game, surprisingly. I might exist in real life. I don't know. Knockout's an enigma to me, but I did play it and I did think it could be more fun than it was. Yeah, that's it. That's all of them for this episode, I guess. Thanks for watching. I'm gonna edit this now, and we'll see if we can get this done in under 3 hours. That'd be cool. Bye.